Daf Pei Zayin Amud Aleph will begin at Pei Vav Amud Beis, 5 lines from the bottom. Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Hananya ben Akavya Amru Davarech. Rabbi said that Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Hananya ben Akavya, they go with the same shita. We learned the shita of Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah that he said that if you have the kaisel of the chatzeres, the wall over between the two chatzeres over the bore of the mayim, that wall, even though that wall was built for the chatzeres, is enough to consider to split the water in the bore and to allow the people on each side to draw the water. So we see that he's mekel by mayim. So Rav Hananya ben Akavya also we see a kula that he said. Rabbi Yehuda Hada Amran, Rabbi Yehuda, like we just said and we learned in our Mishnah. Rav Hananya ben Akavya, what did he teach us? This nan we learned in a Mishnah. Rav Hananya ben Akavya Imer, Zusra sheyesh ba arba amas al arba amas. If you have a balcony which extends from the wall, and it's arba amas al arba amas, 4 by 4 amas, which means that it is 24 by 24 tefachim. There's 6 tefachim in an amma, so it's 24 by 24 tefachim. So you have a balcony that extends from the wall. So you have a wall, and then there's a balcony that extends from it. So if it is 24 by 24 tefachim, dalet al dalet umimala, one can just cut out in that board that extends out a hole which is dalet by dalet, and then that will allow him to draw water from the water below. It will allow him to draw the water through that hole. So as we learned before, that a mechitza tluya is materes b'mayim. A suspended mechitza is muter by water. We're allowing it over water. Now, if this gzustra, so you had a board that extends out from the wall, there's something supporting it, and the board was now extending from the walls over the water. The water has a din of a carmelis, and therefore normally you're not allowed to draw water from the yam, which is a carmelis, to the Dirshu to his house. Now, as we learned, if you have an enclosure which is the walls are at least 10 tefachim, and it encloses an area of dalet al dalet, then is considered to be enclosed by mechitzas, even though the mechitzas do not extend all the way down to the water below, even though they're suspended in the air. It's a mechitzah tluyas materes b'mayim. So therefore he says in such a case, you have a kula, you have an ability to draw the water simply by cutting out a hole. If this is the board that extends out, you cut a hole 4 by 4. Now, by doing that, you cut out the hole 4 by 4, you can draw the bucket through the hole. How can you draw the bucket through the hole? Where are the mechitzas? So he applies a principle of that we say that we view the solid area, that we view it as being bent down. We say that we view it as the sides bent down. So therefore, if you cut out the hole, so this is 24 by 24 tvach. If you cut out a hole which is dalet by dalet in the middle, that's 4 by 4, that's the hole. That means there's 10 tvachim on each side of the hole. That means there's 10 tvachim on each side of the hole. Now, he says you can view the area that is opposite the hole, that solid area of the board. You can view it as being bent down, and if it bends down, it creates a mechitza, and you create a mechitza on each side. To illustrate, if you have this board that extends out, you have the building and the board extends out, you cut the hole dalet al dalet. Now this is 24 by 24. You cut out a hole which is dalet al dalet. That means that you have opposite this hole a strip of 10 tefachim by a width of dalet tvachim on each side. And if it's 24 by 24, you cut out a hole of dalet al dalet. That means the remainder opposite the hole, there's a strip of 10 tvachim by 4, 10 by 4 on each side. You view these strips, these solid strips, as bending down, which therefore gives you a area of dalet with a side of 10, and therefore this area over here is now the hole with your mechitzas on each side, and you can draw the water by lowering the bucket and raising it through this hole. Because we view the sides of the hole, the solid areas of the hole, we view it as bending down. It bends down and therefore creates mechitzas on each side. So therefore, again, he's applying this kula, and he says that you have a mechitza kuya, and you can be matered in this manner. Amalei Abai says, no, but why do you say that they're the same shita? Maybe that's not so. Ad kan loy kom Rabbi Yehuda halsam. Rabbi Yehuda said it in our Mishnah, Eladamar Gurachas B'chitzasa. Yes, he says that it's, even though it's suspended, we view the wall as coming down to the water. That's Gurachas. We extend the wall, we say it extends down, even though physically the wall does not all come all the way down. We view it that way. Aval kaif, but over here, kaif v'gud loy. But in this case over here that we just discussed from Hananya, he's saying two things. He's saying not only does he say gurachas, but he says you have to take the solid areas and view them as they're bent down. So perhaps Rabbi Yehuda would not say that. And on the other hand, Vadkan like Rabbi Hananya ben Akavya Hasam, he said it over there, Elabiyam Shel Tferi. Perhaps he only said this kula by the Yam Shel Tferi Yam Kineres. Oil v'yesh lo ugnin v'ayarais v'karpipas mekifanaisa, because since surrounding the Yam it has high banks and it has cities and open and karpas and open areas, then we say that over there it does not have the appearance of a Rishus Harabim, and therefore we're Mekel, because the whole reason that we ask her carrying from a Carmelis to a Rishus Yachid is because it looks like carrying from a Rishus Harabim to a Rishus Yachid, but the Yam Shel Tferia looks clearly different. Aval B'shar Meimas, other bodies of water that are not surrounded in that way, perhaps I would not say that, so we have no raya that they hold of each other. So now we're discussing Rav Hananya's case, so now we have a further applications of it, and even further kulas that will come out where you will be allowed to draw the water even with boards that are not as large as the one that he discussed, which is 24 by 24 tefachim, even with boards which are smaller. Om Rabaya Uladiv Rav Hananya ben Akavya if the board that extended out was next to a wall within 3 tefachim of a wall, if it was in with 3 tefachim of a wall, then you don't need a board of 24 by 24. Then then you only need the length to be 24 tefachim. Dalet Amas 24 tefachim, but the width only has to be 11 and a bit. It only has to be 11 and a bit. So how does that work out? So that works out is that if you have the wall and you have the balcony that extends out from the wall, so we're able to say, applying the principle also of Dovid. So therefore, all you have to do is, you don't need 24 by 24, you need 24 by 11 and a bit. How is that? Because if you have your board that's 24 across, now if you're utilizing the existing wall, so it's within 3 tefachim of the wall, you're able to say Dovid. Now, if that's the case, if this board is 24 by 11 and a bit, 24 by 11 and a bit, so you have your 24 here. Now, I'm going to eliminate this just for practical ease of it, but assuming that this is 24. Well, if this is 24, if I cut out a piece, if I cut out just a small piece of this, so now I have a tefach over here. I cut out a tefach, I have a tefach over here. So from here to the wall, between this cutout part and the wall, there's 4 tefachim. So this is an area which is dalet tefachim. This is dalet tefachim. Now, therefore, what I will say is that I view the area as being bent. So now I'll take this area over here, which is, after I cut out a tefach, the remainder of this is 10 tefachim. This will bend down. I'll bend this down so that I have a bent down area, which is now, when this is, view this, of course, this is extends further, but then I have a wall here. I bend this down, so this is 10. And now this is a tefach, it's within 3 of the wall. So I have a wall here, and I have a wall here with the space of dalet. Now, keep in mind, this, again, we said this was 24. I cut out 4. I cut out a tefach over here, and by 4. I take the extension over here, which is now 10 tefachim on each side. It's 24, so it's 10 on each side. This extends down, and this extends down, so it encloses an area of dalet al dalet with 4 walls, 1 and 2, 3, and the wall over here by an area of 4 by 4. So if I have this scenario, I don't need dalet amas by dalet amas. In this scenario, I only need 24 tefachim by 11, or 11 by 24, and therefore I'd be able to extend the walls on each side and create the opening dalet al dalet with walls of 10. Now, if we have another scenario, haisa zakufa, if the board was placed upright, then sarach shehei gaiva sora tefachim, the height only has to be 10 tefachim, the roichva and the width vav tefachim ushnei mashen, and the width only 6 tefachim and 2 mashim and 2 and a little bit. How is that? Well, you have the wall. If the board is upright, so the board is upright, it's within 4 tefachim of the wall. Now again, we have to create an enclosure that is dalet al dalet. It's dalet al dalet, and the walls, the space, the opening is dalet al dalet, and the walls are 10 tefachim by 10 tefachim. Now, if this board is 10 tefachim long, it's 6 tefachim and 2 mashim wide, and it's within 4 tefachim of the wall. So if it's within 4 tefachim of the wall, then we can view the 2 sides. So you have, that means you have a tefach and a bit on each side. You view it as being bent. The sides are viewed as being bent, and therefore they extend to the wall. They extend to the wall. They're within 3 tefachim of the wall, which we can say lovet. Therefore, once it's extended towards the wall, now you say lovet on these sides, so therefore the sides are considered to be extended. They're only a tefach and a bit, but that, since it was positioned 4 tefachim from the wall, now they extend to within 3 tefachim of the wall. So they're within 3 tefachim of the wall. We say lovet, and therefore it's considered to be enclosed. And therefore you have the walls that extend, so it's considered to be, now you have an enclosure. It's considered to be extended and enclosing an area which is Dalet al Dalet and has the walls, the length of the walls are 10. So all you need is 6 on the width over here. And if you have 6, then we view it as being bent. And it's being bent, and therefore it extends towards the wall. And even though it's only a tefach, but you say lovud, and you say lovud, it's extended to the wall, and therefore it extends across, and you have an enclosure of dalet al dalet with 4 walls. You're utilizing the wall of the house, and now we have an enclosure which is dalet al dalet with 4 walls of 10, and you can draw water through that hole. Now, as an extension to this case, Omer Vun Braid of Yeshua, I say menace becan zavis. If the board was standing in a corner, then you even need a smaller board would be sufficient. You only need a height of 10 and a width of 2 tfachim and 2 mashim. So how does this work? So it's illustrated as follows. If it is in a Karen Zavis, so you have, therefore, you have a wall here and a wall here. Then all you need is a board which has to be 10 high, and has a length of 10 because the mechitza has to be 10. But then in order to create the area that you want, it only has to have 2 tfachim and 2 mashim. How does that work? You place it within 3 tfachim of this wall. Now then you'd say lovud. So this wall extends over here. So therefore you have an area of 4 tfachim. Then you take this tefach and bend it. So you say kaif. So you bend it. Now you bent it over here. So now this was 4 tfachim from the wall, but now it's bent. It extends a tefach in. So now it's also within 3 tfachim. So now you have a wall. Therefore, the wall is extended here. It's extended here. So it's as if you have an area that is enclosed. That's enclosing an area of 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim with a wall, even though the walls are pulled over, but you say lovud. So again, you have it within 3 of here, within 4 of here, then you say kaif and you bend it. So therefore, by bending it, it now is within 3 of this wall. It's within 3 of this wall. It's as if you have an area that's enclosed, dalet al dalet, with 4 walls. And then it would be sufficient. Now that we're saying that you can utilize existing walls, and the existing walls of the house can serve as part of the walls and mechitzas that you need to be able to draw the water. Rav Chananya's din that we started with, that he says if it's dalet amos al dalet, it's 24 tefachim by 24 tefachim. You cut a hole of 4 by 4, and then you say kaif, and you could draw it up. So what's the case over there? We have all these scenarios where you say you don't need such a large board. You don't need 24 tefachim by 24 tefachim. What is the case that he's talking about? My answer is Dovid Kiasisa. It's talking when he made it like a mortar, meaning he's talking in a case where the balcony, or it's on, let's say on stilts, it's on posts, you have a board that's on posts, or perhaps that it's extended further out from the house, that it's not lovewood, where you can't use the existing house, the walls of the house. So therefore, you have a board that is either on stilts, it's away from the wall of the house, so you have the flat board, and then you have to cut out the middle portion, not utilizing any existing walls. You cut out the middle portion, and you have like a mortar. So it's now bent down, it's on all sides, it's bent down, you have 4 by 4, and it has on 4 sides 10 tefachim. You draw through the middle of the board. You have this hole that comes through. That's the case that he's talking about. Zok the Mishnah, a new halach. If you have a canal of water that passes through a chaser, the body of water that we discussed before is a carmelus. If you have the canal, so it draws water from a lake, it draws from another body of water which is considered a carmelus. So this canal is also considered to be a carmelus. Now, provided that it has the dimensions of rishus, that it's at least a dalid 4 tvachim by 10 tvachim high. Then it's considered to be a rishus. It's considered to be an extension of the lake, of the body of water of the carmelus. It's also a carmelus. If it passes through a chaser, the people in the chaser cannot draw water from it because they'd be drawing water from a carmelus to rishus yochid. So they have to now section it off and separate it so that it's not considered any longer part of the carmelus. It's considered independent of the lake, and it's considered part of the chaser. So therefore, you can't draw water from it on Shabbos unless they make a mechitza for it, which is 10 tvachim high, and it's within the canal. And like we discussed before by the bore, and it has the same properties as the bore and the same machlekesum of the bore, how far down does it have to extend, but in the same basic principle that it's a mechitza tluya, it's within the canal, and it's made for that purpose, and therefore we say it's mechitza tluya materes b'mayim. It's considered sectioning off the canal, that portion of the chotzer, it's no longer considered to be part of the carmelus, and then they can draw water. But they have to make this mechitza, it has to be b'knisa v'yitzia. So you can't be mamala from it on Shabbos. And the entrance and the exit from the chatzor on both ends. Rabbi Yehuda, he says it's not necessary. Now, similarly to what we had before by the bore, Rabbi Yehuda says it's not necessary. The kaisel that you have, that on the ends of the kaisel of the chatzeros, and those walls of the chatzeros could serve to be walls for the canal as well. Now, even though those walls were not made for the water to separate the water, they were made for the land to section off the chatzer. Similar to what Rabbi Yehuda said before, nevertheless, that the kaisel that's made for the chatzer should serve as a kaisel for the water. Rav Yehuda said, there was a Maisa in this canal in the city of Oval, so it flowed through the Chatzeres. The people would draw water from it, and they would be allowed to without making mechitza, and it had the heter of the zakenim. So you see that it's not necessary to make a separate mechitza. They said, why was that permitted? That was permitted only because the canal did not have the dimensions of a rishus. It wasn't 10 deep and 4 wide. Therefore, it did not have a dimension of a rishus, of a carmelus, and that's why it was mutter. But if it had the dimensions of a carmelus, the kaisel of the chatzeres would not be sufficient. You'd have to make special mechitzas. Tan Rabbanan, Osala B'Knisa, if they made the mechitza at the entrance, V'loi Osala B'Yitzia, but they did not make it at the exit, or Osala B'Yitzia, if they made it at the exit, V'loi Osala B'Knisa, Ein Mamala Mena B'Shabbos, it's not, Mutri cannot be Mamala, Elim Kein Osala Mechitza Yud Tvachim, unless you make the Mechitza Yud Tvachim, B'Yitzia or B'Knisa, both at the exit and entrance. Rabbi Yehuda, he says it's not necessary. The kaisel that's on top of it, the kaisel that's made for the chatzeros, should serve as a mechitza. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Maisa ba'amas, Hamayim sha'isa ba'ome, Aval et Tzipori. It was Maisa with the canal that came from Oval to the city of Tzipori. And the people used to draw the water with the authority of the zakenim. Amar Loi, Misham Raya, you bring me a raya from there? It's not a raya. It's because it didn't have the dimensions. It didn't have the shear. It wasn't 10 deep and 4 wide, so it didn't have the shear or the dimension of a carmelus of a rishus. But had it, it would have required the special mechitza to be made at the knis and the yitziyah.